right, I'm Russell Payne, and this is the Vindicators Candidate Spotlight Sessions, and we're here for another session today with Judge Wade Brown, who is running for Liberty County Commissioner Precinct 2, but currently is the incumbent Precinct 5 Justice of the Peace. And before we get to Mr. Brown, let's go ahead and just go through some election information for folks out there. If you wish to vote in this election and are not registered, you need to get the forms turned in by February the 2nd to be registered ahead of time. Early voting is going to begin on February the 17th. Election day itself is Tuesday, March the 3rd. And we will be having some candidate forums on Wednesday, February 11th at 6 p.m. at the Dayton Community Center with Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3 candidates. And then on Thursday, February the 12th, also at the Dayton Community Center at 6 p.m., we will hear from Precinct 2 and 4 county commissioners candidates, as well as 75th and 253rd District Judge candidates. Again, both of those are at the Dayton Community Center. And we'll have an election guide out on February the 12th, both in print and online for folks to see and help make an informed decision ahead of early voting. With that all taken care of, Mr. Brown, the floor is yours. If you want to introduce yourself to folks.
I'm Wade Brown. I'm Justice of the Peace in Precinct 5. You already went over that. I've been elected to that position 4 different times. I chose to step down this time to run for county commissioner because I felt like there were some issues that weren't being taken care of. I was raised in Liberty County. My family were rice farmers and run cattle basically my entire life. I taught school for 28 years in Dayton ISD, Targeted ISD, and Barbers Hill ISD. In the ag, building trades, automotive and diesel fields. What else do I need to put into this for an introduction? Well, I was married for 35 years to my first wife, and I'm not laughing. She passed away on me in 2015 from a blood clot, and those can be very fast. And then I've been remarried, going on, I think, for 8 years. Now I probably just got in trouble again. But anyway.
Hey, you're not getting in trouble, you're not trying, right?
Yeah, but, I've worked hard to be a good judge and have kept a good staff on hand at the courthouse up there in Tarkenton, and we're doing a really good job as far as the community thinks, and I want to continue doing that, but I want to move it over to County Commissioner's Court.
All right. Well, this commissioner's precinct is the largest of the 4 in the county. I actually looked at the map a minute ago, and I don't think folks quite understand. This thing goes from top of Cleveland all the way to Rye Romare, all the way just south of, or just north of Liberty, all of Hardin, and comes back into Tarkenton. So it's a large precinct. And, well, you said there's been some issues with the representation that you've gotten that's kind of compelled you to run. What is some of that? I'll
go right to home base. The county courthouse where we're at in Tarkenton was backed into by a food bank truck over 6 years ago. When that truck backed into the back of the building, you can still look at it and see it because the indentation, the broke boards from the fascia board, the soffit underneath the eaves of that building are cracked, and they're still cracked. But when you go inside and you look at the sheetrock in 3 of the offices that are in that building, the sheetrock's cracked. One of the ladies that used to come from Cleveland to do maintenance once a week or to clean up once a week, she brought paint from when Judge Moorfield's office was, what do you call it when you redo it?
Remodeling?
He painted where she had leftover paint from painting his office.
Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, she brought some paint out there, and she had enough paint left over to do 2 of those rooms, but the sheetrock's still cracked in the other ones. And in the courtroom, it actually cracked the slab all the way from the judge's bench to the front door in that building. And then our current county maintenance sent somebody out there to look at it with the insurance people, and the insurance people agreed to $3,900 worth of damage on the building. I don't think you could touch it for $30,000. But the kicker to that deal is not only did they agree on a sum way lower than what it cost to repair that building, they took that money and put it in the general fund and spent it somewhere else, and they've never fixed the building. When I first got elected about 15 years ago plus, we had a storm blow through and blew a bunch of shingles off. And that commissioner at the time that was over maintenance came in and sent his maintenance man out, and he looked at the building and told me, hey, you know we got an open PO up there at Potez, you can go get some shingles and fix it. And I said, I'm not a roofer. I'm not getting on top of that building. So that's part of it. The other part is I've been in the feed business for 32 years and I travel all over this county and counties around us at times. And when you look at the ditches and the roads in our precinct, I actually asked Commissioner Arthur about how many miles were in this road, because when Lee Gross was commissioner in that precinct, he used to tell me all the time there was 700 miles of road. And I know we're bigger than that now, so I don't know how many miles of road are actually in the precinct. If it's 500, it's 500 miles of road, and it's 1,000 miles of ditches that have to be maintained. And they need to be put on some type of schedule to where they're cleaned out. You can't do all of them in a year. You can't do all of them in 4 years and then start back. But you got to start somewhere, and we haven't started, except for where they're having new subdivisions come in. They'll go over there and they'll clean the ditch out right next to the new subdivision, but that's it. When you drive around and you look at the ditch, if the bottom of the dirt in the ditch is higher than the culvert, it's not a ditch. I've moved a lot of water on the rice field. I know how to move water.
Well, that's going to be one of the things the county's been working on is looking to establish a floodplain plan right now, and I think some decisions going forward will be made off of those part of the horse that plan when they get it back from the GLO, so obviously floodplains and ditches are going to be an important part of that, and where neighborhoods. So let's get into the neighborhoods, right? You do have some new neighborhoods that are being developed inside of Precinct 2 right now.
Okay. And let me help you out. Where I'm at, where I live at, Lee Gross was trying to drain the water off the school. That was three commissioners back. He started a project where he opened up a natural creek, just like a drainage ditch, because we do not have a drainage district in Tarkenton like you do down here in Dayton. And I think over in Raywood too. I'm not for sure on that one. But Lee brought all that water down to a point and stopped. Ran out of money. Couldn't go any further. Well, what he did was he shoved water to places that it's never been to, and he's drowned out houses. Lee's not here anymore, but our last commissioner, Charlotte Warner, she never touched that, never went on with it. Greg Arthur, he's been in there 3 terms. He's never touched that, went on with it. We've had houses flooded that never flooded before. My house has never had water in it. I've had water. So, and I've lived there for 40-something years. It didn't just... They brought all that water and they don't know what to do with it. And now they've built a subdivision on the other end of that creek where all that water's going to have to be drained to. That should have been addressed in commissioner's court, some rules, something that should have been done before they ever let them build another subdivision at the back end of that creek.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? What do you plan to do then? What I mean, if you say you know how to flow water, what do you hope to do?
Well, when you're farming rice and you got levees, if you ever driven by a rice field,
yes, sir.
You see all that water house all the way across. They go in there and they shoot a grade everywhere. They put a levee, so that whenever they fill up that cut, that section, that it will be level. Or they'll run in there and they'll level out between the 2 levees, water level. And if you start draining at the top, when you get ready to pull the water out of those fields, you wash all your levees out going to the back way, because all that water builds up on top and it starts pushing everything back. So you have to start at the bottom and give that water a place to go whenever you drain the field. And it works the same way in a ditch. You can't drain water uphill. You can pump it uphill, but you can't drain it.
Okay. What about roads? You're going to have a lot of roads in that precinct.
And they're in pretty bad shape.
And do you have? And I think it's fair to say that no commissioner has enough money to fix all these roads, right?
Oh no! I mean, he's sitting there with like almost $1 million in road materials sitting on hand. They tell me I got a brother-in-law that's a county commissioner in another county. I have another good friend I went to college with. He's a county commissioner in another county. And they tell me it's around $400,000 to $500,000 a mile to go in there and tear that road out and repave. And that's a lot of money, and especially when you're only sitting there and you got like a $4 million budget for your precinct. Mm-hmm. So there's no way you're going to go in there and open it up. I think the highest traveled roads need to be done. I'll tell you a quick deal on how funny this is. Not funny again. on my Facebook page for running for commissioner, I put on there that somebody stopped me one day and said he would go house to house and get me the votes on this road if I would fix the road. And I told him, I said, well, if I did that, I probably wouldn't be commissioner again if I so chose to run again, because nobody would ever vote for me if the first thing they saw me do in this county is improve my life. Okay. And he said, well, I'm going to go circle all the potholes on this road. The next day, the potholes were fixed. So somebody's watching my Facebook page, and it's not the people that live on the road that got it done. I'm going to leave it at that.
What would be your process then for, you look at the most traveled roads, and as far as making sure those are stable, and then just doing maintenance around the rest of the precinct?
Like I said, you got X amount of dollars. You're going to have to keep it within a budget.
Right.
The most important thing is get it all set up on a schedule. Your ditches, places flood, yards flood because the ditches aren't cleaned out. Greg has not dug out a ditch the whole distance of a road, and if you have the dirt higher than your culvert, it's not a ditch. It's a lock system, just like they float the boats up in the north. That's all it is. You hold water.
Well, let's talk about economic development. That's coming to the county, and I guess what your part would be as an administrator on the commissioner's court. Not necessarily a lot coming, particularly in your precinct, but you do have a say so, and I guess trying to bring that into the county as a member of the court. Where do you stand on? Where do you stand there?
Part of the farming that we did was out on some Exxon land and on 146. And Exxon really wanted to move a plastics plant into Liberty County. I wasn't on Commissioner's Court, don't know all the stuff to it, but for some reason they jumped back over into Chambers County to do that plant. They still own the land, okay? But they did want to come over because I not only did it on farmed and used that, I baled hay on the Chambers County side, but they really wanted to move it over. They were looking at Beaumont or Port Arthur plant and over here, and they came back and off of Hatcherville Road. Everybody talks about Hatcherville Road, all the traffic on it. Well, we got a lot of stuff over there, but it's all happening in Chambers County. Why?
All right. Okay. What's going to be your biggest strength if the folks elect you to?
My good decision skills. I'll listen to it. It's kind of like in the courtroom. When I have people come in there, I have one person that's talking for this, I have one person talking for this, and I have to go by what the law says. So when I'm sitting in there, I hear everybody, I hear what you're thinking, I hear what you like, but I have to stick to what the law says. I'm not going to make bad decisions. Again, I said I was married 35 years to the same person, okay? And making bad decisions, you wouldn't stay around there that long.
That's right. That's right. So you're running against 4 individuals.
I don't even know who 3 of them are. I'm just looking at Greg.
Right, and that's a good question, right? So and so your focus is on the incumbent, Greg Arthur. What sets you apart from these other? I know you're looking at Greg, but what's going to set you apart from those guys?
I think experience from being in a classroom teaching. I was the president of the State Teachers Association for 2 different terms. I've worked in Austin. I've gone out to Austin and given testimony and committee hearings on education at the time. But I mean, it wouldn't be any different going to Austin doing this type. If I was in the commissioner's court and I was trying to get some stuff going in Austin to support my precinct, I've had that experience.
Mm-hmm. So something I've asked all the commissioners, candidates that were in the precinct 4 race, and again, it's your precinct actually, I guess, may come real close to this, but Colony Ridge is an issue that the county's got to deal with. It's been dealing with.
Greg was a big part of that. Greg went out there and approved the roads. It's on. You can Google all this. I don't have to tell y'all. Google it. Research your people that are running for office. If you go back and you look, Greg Arthur overrode the commissioner that was a commissioner of that precinct at that time that did not want the roads approved. That's a mess. It would talk about money. Liberty County doesn't have the money to go out there and fix those roads. They poured that stuff. It's like 12-inch concrete with fibercrete. My father-in-law was over a bunch of this stuff with Campbell Ready Mix with Gene Campbell. The concrete done wrong to start off with is going to be a mess. You can see where those big dump trucks and mixer trucks and all other kinds of trucks that are running through that circle because Plum Grove's little culvert out there washed out, and they didn't want it fixed, and they didn't want the county to fix it because they didn't want it done. I don't know what happened in that deal. I wasn't there, but it cost Ernest Bales his job as a state representative for this district because his name got drugged through it. Greg Arthur came out smelling like a rose again, but he's the one that approved the roads. He pushed to approve the roads in Plum Grove. That's not his precinct. He should have been out taking care of his.
What will you do to come I guess, what would be your role in any future development stuff out there? What stance? What are you gonna ask for from these developers?
I go back to the looking at a rice farm or looking at a rice field and seeing how the water stands. You can take all the engineers that you can put in this room, and every one of them are going to have a different idea when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've seen it. They come out with engineering plans targeted ISD. Charlotte Warner again. I'm going to bring her up. She was over the Texas Highway Department at that time, or was one of the lead people in that. And that road is a mess. They designed it. They brought it up. I've been out there when I was teaching there, standing in ankle deep or deeper water in the middle of the road because the creek backs up. They didn't have anywhere for that water to go.
Let's see here. Budgets and property taxes. We put everybody else on the line on this one. Where are we? Where are you on property taxes?
We're paying just a few individuals, a few departments, over $100,000 more a year per person. If you look at any other county around us or counties our size, even Harris County has 9 auditors. Those 9 auditors handle a budget of $2.8 billion, if I remember right. Okay, and each one of those auditors is involved with, break it down, $313 $1 million each. We have just say $60 million budget.
Right.
And we have an auditor that this time around we're going to be paying him if I'm remembering right, $173,000 a year. If you go to Polk County, that guy's making $80. We have a purchasing agent. We're paying $173,000 a year. If you go to Polk County, it's $40. And you go to San Jacinto County, we could pull $1 million out of 2 offices in salaries and rehire people. I'm going to hurt people's feelings, but it's not their money that they're spending. They're spending your money. They're spending the public's money and paying these people, and I don't know why.
As far as property taxes, so there's that, and property taxes. So a lot of folks are, of course, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room with what you can do and can't do, right?
Yes, sir.
But where would you stand on the property taxes? Would you ever be willing to go up? You want to keep it down?
I've talked to other county commissioners, and they tell me that the way they're doing it right now is grants. When I first got elected, Craig McNair got elected to judge, and the first thing he did was fire the grant writer. I don't know why. I talked to the man a couple times. They're doing it off of grants. They're going after grants. You have somebody. I have another family member. I'm not going to throw him under the bus talking about him, but he's been a college professor for years, and he writes a lot of grants for a college. Okay? And he gets a portion of that grant for writing it and keeping up with it. And that you could do the same thing in this county. If somebody wants to make $170,000 a year, start writing grants for the county, and then you get the good grants going, then I don't mind giving them part of it. If I need $10 million or whatever to fix a drainage system in Tarkington or fix a drainage system in Clark, Texas, or anywhere.
Right. Gotcha. How can people get a hold of you or find more information out about you out there?
Go on Facebook, Wade Brown for Precinct 5 Commissioner. Precinct 2. It gets confusing. I've had a lot of people do this. There's 6 JP and Constable precincts, okay? And there's 4 commissioners in every county in the state of Texas. You got four commissioners. And some counties have 2 JPs. Some have 6, some have 5. It just depends on Commissioner's Court. Liberty County is so long and so big. One night I got called out on 3 deaths. One of them was an automobile wreck. And that was early on, and I thought, my God, this job gonna be like this forever. But you know, and you got to run from Tarkington to the County Line Road and Chambers, or next to Chambers County, and then turn around and drive back over to the Raywood area. But it's a lot of miles that you cover.
Well, real quick, I want to run down some stuff again. Early voting will start February the 17th. Election day is March the 3rd. We will have 2 candidate forums. On February the 11th at 6 p.m., we'll have Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3 candidates. The next night, on February the 12th at 6 p.m., we'll have Commissioner's Precinct 2, 4, and the 75th and 253rd District Judge races. Both nights, 6 p.m., Dayton Community Center. Hopefully you're going to be there for that one. So alongside your opponents, so we can hear a little more back and forth. And, of course, voters registration deadline is February the 2nd. We're going to make one last pitch to the voters.
Yeah, I want to thank y'all for inviting me to this. Y'all doing this puts it out there to where people can see us better. When I first got elected, you could drive around and you could go introduce yourself to people. Now we got all these electronic gates and you can't get in the driveway. And when you do get in the driveway and 4 dogs come running out around the back of that house, I'm not stepping out. I had a lady tell me one time when I did that, they don't bite, and as soon as my leg hit the ground, that dog bit me right above my boot. I said, you got one that does that.
That's right. That's right.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Well, this is another one of our candidate spotlights. We're looking forward to having some more folks. Hopefully, we'll hear from some of your opponents along the way. But again, if no other point, we'll hopefully hear from all you guys on the 12th of February at the Dayton Community Center. So, Mr. Brown, good luck on the campaign trail.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.